Hi guys, welcome back. In my last video, we talked about how to handle a cylinder and how not to create that ring of pearls going completely around the object that make it look unnatural. Well, Joanne, the woman who asked the question, and the person who did this picture, asked me another question, and it also was a very good question. How do you handle the small details in a picture? Now, this is going to come up as an issue for everyone. It comes up with me all the time. And I try not to pick pictures that have too many details. Some are okay, some really don't belong on the picture because they're actually shading that the artist puts in and tries to guide a person. But once you understand the shading of an object, it might not match up when you're doing your own shading. So you have all these little details that you would have liked to have put in yourself, but they're already on the page. Now, this is a perfect example of what Joanne was asking me about. The first thing she wanted to know is how to handle these lines on the snake's body without creating that ring of pearl. And that would, let me see if I can get out a pencil that semi-matches. This is going to be a little bit bright, but that's okay because I want you to see what I'm doing. So now you have this. This scale goes over this scale goes over this scale, and so on. Okay? But the artist put these lines in that are very dark. And that is also a problem. It's not something that you're going to be able to fix and create a natural looking situation in the picture. This is always going to be a cartoon because of those heavy dark lines. Now, this isn't a video that talks about how to get rid of them. This is going to be how to deal with these things in a more natural way. Now, what I would personally do is what Joanne had originally done, and I would ignore these lines completely. And I would shade this in as if those lines were not there. But the lines are there, and they're making it very, very heavy in the middle. Well, you can use shading if you got out your gray. Let me see. By getting out my gray and doing a very light shade in there, that would kind of wipe away some of those lines. It's not going to help a lot. Now, in a real situation, I would never, if I was drawing a snake, I would never make my lines so heavy because really, while it looks like snakes have these heavy lines on their belly, they really don't. They've got scales that very tightly wind over them, so there's not a heavy, there's not really a heavy shaded area there. It's more going around. Possible I would also ignore adding more on here and just concentrate on the outside. But that also gives us the question is, what do you do with all these little details that are in here that really would have been nice if you could have added in where you want? And that's also a time that I ignore them. A lot of times this happens with tiny flowers and grass. The artist puts in way too much for you to really do anything natural. And usually in that, like say I have a field of flowers, usually in that situation, I would go with the artist's choice because you can't get rid of it. And I've seen a lot of people try, and they're working on these little individual flowers and bumps. And like on here, I would have preferred this girl not to have these little bumps on her face, but they're there. Nothing you could do about it. You either ignore it or make it more pronounced. One or the other. You have to kind of balance it. But with little details, I do recommend just going with the artist. If you were doing your own and you had like a blank field in front of you, Then you can go back, do your main shading underneath, and then go back and add the details that are on top. Unfortunately, I wish I could give you a better answer on this, but a cartoon picture is always going to be a cartoon. You're not going to be able to, in like this situation, you're just not going to be able to get rid of those heavy lines. Where I do, my pet peeve is the nose. When they put in, like right here, this heavy line right here and right here. There's, in a nose, that's not there. You don't create a nose in that situation. You create a nose by adding color to the face. And unfortunately, a lot of artists do put this heavy line right there, and the only thing you can do is kind of try to wipe it out by shading it. But there are kind of products you could put on it to lighten it, like a white. I don't know if a white pencil will help. Maybe a little bit to get rid of it. But these are things you have to actually decide on before there's wax on the paper, because it comes off easier. And the white's not too bad. But then again, this is directly onto the ink and onto the paper, so I probably wouldn't get such a good result on it. I wish there was more I could tell you on that, but that's basically the answer, is you have to ignore it, go with it, or use a product beforehand to get rid of it. In this, I would say definitely don't shade going around. You will create those little squares. I would just do my best to shade it big. I hope this helps other people who are going to run into this, because in the coloring book world, you're definitely going to run into this issue. And I will see you guys in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.